Yeah, that one also seems kind of like a bit of a sucker bet. I mean,
yeah, it does.
PPR,
It's just
he
like
could get half of his points just off the catches.
I just can't take the less with that, man.
Hello and welcome to Monkey Night Fight, folks. I'm Connor Rowntree. That's Joe Dolan. We're talking some Monday Night Football, probably the premier Monday Night Football game of the season. It is the Pats visiting the Buffalo Bills to gain control, see who's going to leave with control of the AFC East. But before we get into that game, Joe, it was a pretty wild weekend in the world of football. And what would be your biggest takeaway? Any kind of football, high school, college, Canadian?
Well, the college coaching carousel is completely wild right now. I know
it is. College football right now is a game of musical coaches. It really is a game of musical coaches.
It's such a dirty game, man. It's a dirty game. Mario Cristobal's leaving to Miami, and we hear about that. But last night we're kind of coming back. I played some Monkey Knife Fight, and I again with the Chiefs completely misread the game. They're still not looking great, man. And if the Broncos got some competent quarterback play on Sunday night, they would have beaten Chiefs. I mean, they just had a terrible game from Teddy Bridgewater. Just a really bad game overall. The Chiefs still don't look right to me, and would I want to be playing them in January? No. I mean, well, let's look on the bigger sample size, but Mahomes did not play well last night. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce combined for less than 10 fantasy points.
Yeah, that's not good. That is one of those ones that scratches your head, but that actually got me a win in fantasy this week. My big takeaway, went to a CFL game yesterday. It was snowing. It was awesome. And some fans threw some beers and spit on some players, and there was a fight in the crowd afterwards. You can actually see it on Twitter. So, yeah, that was good. Good old ruckus in Toronto. Hamilton Tiger Cat fans.
Dude, tonight is going to be pretty wild, too, weather-wise.
Oh, yeah. Tonight's going to be awesome. Except it's the NFL, so there's a reason to get into a fight, and there's a reason to cheer. You don't get in fights over CFL games, guys. Just don't do it. I'm a CFL fan. You don't fight over CFL.
Who's your team?
Toronto Argonauts, baby.
You're an Argos fan. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. How are they doing this year? How are they doing?
Just lost in the Eastern Conference Final. Lost. Hosted it.
To the Ticats?
Yeah, up 15-0 at half. Lost 27-19. It doesn't get much worse than that.
Oh, yeah. The hated Ticats.
Yeah, dude, it's Hamilton. That was kind of just the rebuttal last night leaving the stadium. Hey, it's okay. You're going back and you live in Hamilton. It's okay.
What's weird? I made that drive up from when I lived in Pennsylvania. My wife had a conference in Toronto, and I made that drive. Toronto's great, by the way. It reminds me of Chicago. It's very strange how just coming from America, where all the big cities are spread out. You're just like, oh, here are like the three biggest cities in Ontario, and they go boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, no, just right on the river because there wouldn't be a Canada without an America, right? All trading partners trading up and down the St. Lawrence, and that's why all the major cities are built where they are.
And now,
History 101.
If I kept going from Toronto, I stopped in Toronto, but if I kept going, what's the next major city I hit? Ottawa?
If you're heading west or east? East, yeah, you'd hit Kingston, then Ottawa, and then you'd get into Montreal. And
okay. So I was coming from Buffalo, Niagara Falls, south, and heading west to east. So I hit Niagara Falls, Hamilton, and then Mississauga.
Yep,
which was big. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, this must be Toronto. No, it's not Toronto. And then driving into Toronto on the highway where you drive past the Sky Dome, really kind of a cool drive. Anyway.
And they got the football stadium on the right now. They've done a pretty good job with the infrastructure. Outside of the traffic, it is brutal. Worst city in the world to drive in. I just spent a weekend in LA. And yeah, that's
Toronto's the worst. Apparently Honolulu is very bad. I've never driven in Honolulu though.
I've never been to Hawaii.
There's really not a place to go. You can't really redirect the traffic in Honolulu. Have you ever driven in freaking Washington, D.C.? God.
No, never been to Washington.
Oh God. And it's laid out, and it's laid out in quadrants. So you've got the E streets up here, but also down here. And then like my wife's like, well, they designed it that way to protect the Capitol building. It didn't work. They burned the damn thing down in 1812. So like they failed. They failed. Anyway.
I didn't know. Not many of my southern neighbors know that happened. Yeah, did burn down the White House in 1812. That did happen.
Yeah,
Canada.
unbelievable.
Weird grudges, man. We'll throw beers and spit on you, and then we'll burn down your house. Anyway, Josh Allen versus Mac Jones. Mac Jones, man, I'm looking at this line at 200. It's actually gone down. I believe it started at 203.5, now 200. And my question is why? I understand the Bills have the top, I believe, defense in total yards against. New England has the top scoring defense in the league. But Jones in his last 6 games is 6-0, averaging just under 230 pass yards per game with 9 touchdowns and 2 picks. I got to take the more on this one. I like the gourmet mac and cheese this guy's cooking up, and I think he's going to be serving it on Monday Night Football under the spotlights. I don't know if it's going to relate to a victory, but 200 yards, I got to take the more on that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take the less. And the reason is because the weather has knocked the total of this game down. And I'm actually really excited to watch this one, man. I might open the windows. Of course, I'm in South Carolina where it's like 60 degrees, but I might open the windows, get a breeze going, just try to feel what my buddy is a Bills fan, and he drove up for this game, and he is going to be freaking miserable. It's going to be great. I hope they show him on television. He's got a big old bald head. Oh God, I hope they show him on television all miserable like. And he bought the tickets a few months ago, and he's like, the Bills, they'll beat the Patriots. They got a rookie quarterback, and now it's a big game. He's up there on Monday night. I can't wait for this. It's going to be miserable out. I'm going to take the less on Mac Jones. Josh Allen's a little harder for me because I think Josh Allen is better equipped. I mean, that's one of the reasons Buffalo drafted Josh Allen, right? Oh, the arm can cut through the cold Buffalo wind. I think I'm going to lean a little bit to the more on Josh Allen, but I'm going to take the less on Mac Jones here. I do think this is going to be an ugly game. I think the Patriots are going to be able to get after Josh Allen. Allen's been turning the ball over, but I do think he'll complete some passes here enough to go over this number. But boy, these numbers are lined in such a place where I was coming in. Oh man, I'm excited to take the less on this. I can't imagine a Josh Allen number has been this low on Monkey Knife Fight in quite some time.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't imagine since the foundations of the monkeys fighting with knives that Josh Allen has been at 234.5, averaging 283 yards over his last 6 games. I got to take the more on that one too, because of the lack of rush attack that the Buffalo Bills possess, because of the fact that Josh Allen has so many weapons, and because, hey, I was in this weather yesterday in Toronto, right across the lake from each other. Usually when there's a storm in Toronto, you're going to get it in Buffalo the next day or vice versa. And it was windy and it was snowing and it was cold and it was wet and there was hail and rain. And that was the kind of football game I was at yesterday. And man, oh man, it was low scoring, but man, it was a fun game to be at. So I'm right there with you, Joe. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch, but man, I have to take the more on both these quarterbacks because of what I've seen and how they played. And I think it might be a rude awakening for myself. Now let's talk about the fantasy point side of things, Joe. That's kind of your bread and butter, if you will. Keeps the roof over your head. You got Josh Allen coming in at 21.5 fantasy points. Mac Jones coming in at 15.5 fantasy points. Is Josh Allen going to use his legs a little bit here? Now 12.5 for Mac Jones.
Oh my Lord.
And 17.5 for Josh Allen. The numbers are just falling.
They are plummeting. Let's take the more on both, and I do not feel good about it.
Yeah,
those numbers are low, man. Those are low numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I struggled to get Mac Jones to 15.5 fantasy points as he doesn't really extend plays with his legs. But I do think he will be concise passing the ball for at least the 200 yards, as I said. But yeah, like out of necessity, I don't know if this is the biggest suckers bet in the history of Monkey Knife Fight, but I got to take the more and the more.
Yeah,
Josh Allen going for less than 17.5 points is probably unheard of. In the last
I got to be
games,
honest, man. I got to be honest. These are like, you're right, sucker bet. I feel like I'm getting reeled in here because, the weather's so bad. Are we overcorrecting here? But man, I hope the weather's back because I want to watch a bad weather, like kind of crap game. But I'm struggling with these lines right now.
Yeah, no, regular football has definitely gotten boring. It's getting a little old just seeing snap back snap back, take the snap, drop back, pass the ball, first down in the sunny weather. Give us a little snow, give us a gale to play through, something to really mix it up. Now, Joe, if we're looking at the receivers now and the running backs here, yeah, we got Stephon Diggs. Obviously, if I have Josh Allen going for more, I have to have Stephon Diggs getting more than 5 receptions.
Yeah, I would think so. And like, here's the thing with Stephon Diggs. Like, again, this is a receptions line. He doesn't have to get 35 yards a pop in order for this to hit. He could go 5 for 40. And Josh Allen's going to look for Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has been essentially the last 6 weeks a number 3 receiver in all of fantasy football. Stephon Diggs more than this.
So the next 2 lines are extremely tricky. You got 2 running backs coming out of the same backfield. Damian Harris has kind of looked like the guy, at least when he's been healthy. Rhamondre Stevenson, has really stepped up nicely in those bruising yardage roles, which could be huge in a stormy game in Buffalo. This is a tough one with both these backs. I think I have to take the more on Harris when I've seen him play when he's been healthy. But it's tough. Like both these guys, right around 50 yards it's a tough ask. I'm going to take the less on Stevenson though, with Harris in the lineup.
Yeah, I'm actually
What's your read on this, Joe?
Do the opposite, but I actually like the less on both of them. I think it's going to be ugly, man. I think it's going to be bad for the Patriots. Now, I think the Patriots are going to come out and try to run the football. But we've seen games where they've run it very successfully. We've seen games where they haven't run it successfully at all. Remember against the Buccaneers, they had negative rushing yards. So let's just look at it from that perspective. I think this is a really, really tough draw for them. It's a tough contest. If I had to pick one guy to go over, I think it's Stevenson, who actually has looked better to me of late. But from a fantasy perspective, what I think you're angling for is a touchdown from either one of those guys. And that brings us to the fantasy points contest.
Yeah, well, let's take a bite into those fantasy points contests now. You can see the numbers up here. I got to take the more on Stephon Diggs. He's been Josh Allen's go-to guy. Divisional football game at home. You got to get your best player of the football. It's that simple. So get the ball to Stephon Diggs. Give me the more on that one. And then Stevenson, you said it. Is the 6 points from the touchdown enough to cover the 10.5?
I think, he's been better in the passing game than has Damian Harris, which, given MKF is PPR, makes this more interesting. But I think you're angling for a touchdown. So I'm going to say less on Rhamondre Stevenson.
Yeah. And then I just have a question to ask you based on your projected game script with what you're kind of dishing out there. We have less for you on the Mac Jones side, so less than 200 passing yards. And the 2 lead running backs, I know there's a third one in New England, but the 2 lead running backs outside of Bolden, you have both those guys rushing for less than their total yards. Do you just think this is going to be, like you said it, but an absolute slugfest kind of game with New England getting less than 300 yards of total offense?
I think they might gain like 285 yards of offense. That's kind of the read on it. I just think, let's put it this way. If I had Patriot receivers, I wouldn't feel good about this game either. Even though Tre'Davious White is out, let's see what it looks like. I mean, I think the Bills could not be asking for better conditions in their first game without Tre'Davious White.
Well, if we were to talk about, we got Cole Beasley and then you have Jacoby Myers. I'm sure Jason can find those contests with one of those 2 guys. And Jacoby Myers, I guess, is kind of the go-to guy now. He's going to be the guy that is looked to by Mac Jones to really step up on Monday night when they need a first down on maybe those 3rd and longs, or if they do dare to pass on 3rd and long in this weather, in this inclement weather. But Jacoby Myers right now, Joe, 3.5 receptions is his line on Monday night.
Oh,
what do you?
God.
Yeah, that one's got you stressed.
Yeah, because I hate the matchup, because Teron Johnson, the slot corner, is actually arguably Buffalo's best corner now that Trey White is out. I was thinking 4.5 was like the line where I'd be like, give me the less there. I'm going to say more. I'm going to say more on this, only because, again, I think he could go for 4 for 35. 3.5 is a really tough number. 4.5, I'm taking the less. 3.5, I have to take the more.
Does Stephon Diggs get the 60 yards? I know we talked about the reception total, but 60 yards, I feel, for Stephon Diggs is extremely doable. The weather isn't going to be great, but with the way Stephon Diggs is used with the downfield shots, those might be very limited in a bad weather game. But another way that he's extremely effective is those wide receiver screens. And if it's bad weather, there's going to be a lot of those. And if he breaks one of them, he's going to get half of the yardage right there.
I'll take the more here because I'm going with the more on the Josh Allen passing yards. So give me the more on Stephon Diggs. He's his best receiver. I'll take the less on Beasley. At some point you have to take less somewhere. But I'll go with more for Stephon Diggs. That number is too low, and he's the guy who I feel best about in this offense.
Yeah, he's really is the go-to fantasy guy from a scoring perspective, if you will. And then even outside of fantasy, right? He's Josh Allen's number one guy. And then if you look towards the red zone, he likes the tight ends, but Cole Beasley's role could be extremely limited in a game such as this. So I like your read with the less. And then you talked about Damian Harris earlier. You had the less on him.
And that one I don't feel great about, by the way, but I just feel like the Patriots are going to struggle to move the ball.
Yeah, no, I have to take the more on that as their lead back. I just feel like something's got to give for them to be able to move the ball. And as you said, 285 yards of projected total offense isn't a lot, but hey, it's got to come from somewhere. Stephon Diggs' fantasy point line opened up at 15.5. Joe, just want to bounce this one off you because you are the fantasy guru. Now down to 12.5 fantasy points. Stephon Diggs at 12.5 fantasy points.
More. I have to take the more. Have to.
Yeah, that one also seems kind of like a bit of a sucker bet. I mean,
yeah, it does. It's just
like get half of his points just off catches.
I just can't take the less with that, man.
Yeah, no, I'm completely. I'm completely with
can't
you.
Do it. I just can't. Oh.
No, can't do it. Nice haircut, by the way. Don't think I mentioned that.
Oh, thank you. You noticed that? Oh, yeah. Wow. All right. I got the ears lowered a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Good way to start the week when someone notices the haircut. Let me get a final prediction for this game for you, Joe. We obviously the under is where things are trending towards, but who do you think comes out on top in a very, very crucial AFC East divisional? Well, it could be a deciding game realistically this late in the season, but toe-to-toe on the road, Pats.
Let's see if I can keep this hot. I hope you guys realize that I got the score exactly right on Thursday.
Forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
at the top of the show, I was watching the game and I was like, I think Joe nailed it.
Yeah, I got the score exactly right.
What's your prediction for Thursday Night Football? We got there, baby.
Let's go
Tongue Twister Thursdays.
Let's go with Cowboys 27, Saints 17. Let's go 20-16 Bills.
20-16. Whew. Just mean defensive touchdowns. Is that what you're seeing in this one? Just blocked punts, special teams, just nasty, ugly football.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
9-7 Pats.
9-7, yeah. Hey, as somebody who really does not I need Kendrick Bourne to not go off tonight. That's what I need, which I feel like in these conditions is a fair wager to make. But let's hope it's low scoring for my sake.
Yeah, well, I need Josh Allen to do some big things in fantasy, which is just not looking like it's trending upwards. But I'll take the Bills 24-17. I think it'll be a few more points, a couple broken plays. We'll see some defensive coverages blown with guys blowing all over the field and falling down. And hopefully for my sake, at least, Josh Allen will get going and produce a football game for your buddy that's going to be there, Joe.
Also,
yeah, I'm gonna laugh at the conditions because he's in those conditions. I'm going to laugh.
Our resident producer and Patriots fan, Brian, any prediction, bud, over there?
23-13 Pats, 1 seed, Rollins in the playoffs.
No bias here. Only objective predictions here.
Just roll. I love that. There wasn't even a break in the sentence. 21-13 Pats,
just
roll into the playoffs. First place. We're used to it. It's the Patriot way. Give us a ring already because we need another one. All right, Joe, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of MonkeyKnifeFight.com's coverage for Monday Night Football. Folks, I'm Connor Rowntree. That's Fantasy Points Joe Dolan. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.